like to see him explain his decision to the thousands of steelworkers whose jobs are on the line because their companies aren't competing on a level playing field because China repeatedly subsidizes, doesn't play by the rules, and cheats. It's another classic example of the Trump administration promising one thing but doing another. President Trump has promised many times to crack down on China, and still 10 months into his administration, his Commerce Secretary is once again needlessly delaying a preliminary step in that effort. Every time I see Secretary Ross, I've known him for 30 years, he's a New Yorker like I am, I say to him, when are we going to do something on China? Oh, we're going to do something tough. And each time there's a different excuse. This should have happened in the first 2 months of the administration. It hasn't. So, because of the Republican inaction, because of the president's unfulfilled and rapidly becoming broken promise on being tough with China, Senate Democrats will be sending a letter to President Trump and Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross demanding that the administration keep its promise to crack down on China's unfair and predatory trade practices. Now, one more thing on China. Today I read Tesla, our great car manufacturing company, will be relocating to China. When you want to sell cars or many other advanced products in China, you have to do one of two things. Set up a joint ownership company which lets them steal our intellectual property or face huge tariffs. That's based on the fact that the WTO was poorly negotiated and China was regarded as a developing country. That was the fault of President Bush and President Obama. Neither did enough to stop China.
Clinton.
Based on his campaign rhetoric, you'd think President Trump would be tougher as China steals our family jewels. It's no longer clothing and furniture. It's our best industries. They steal our intellectual property by these joint ventures. Sometimes they do it by cyber theft. A lot of times they do it by cyber theft. And it's hurting the good paying jobs that might be available to our children and grandchildren. Based on campaign rhetoric, you'd think President Trump would be tougher on China. But so far, it's been a lot of talk and not very much action.
Check this out. You are not going to believe what fast food is doing to your...
Yeah. That's the point. The Democrats are jumping on Trump now for tariffs on China, but they were all for the only way to crack down would have been tariffs on China 5 years ago. Well, 7 years ago. Take the lead. Take the lead. Take the lead. Yeah, but AOC is hot. I gotta stay for AOC. No, I'm just kidding. Schumer. Hey Darren. Hey John. Hey Eddie. Red Pepper Ronnie. Narad. Sideshow. Scott. Randall. Jack. Silver Mine Card. Okay, I forgot to sign in. Hey, Bill Miko, I forgot to sign in for quotes. So let me, it'll be quick. It's quick, just takes typing in a password, then it takes getting a security code. And hopefully remembering it long enough to type the code in. Okay, so Railtown is up, so I would have to say that's acting like somebody might know something. You don't know. You don't know. GBUX is down 40 cents. That does not alarm me, but I'm not sure I want to be in that trade forever. NIXX is down. I guess similar point of view on that. Gold futures rise. And the Dow is up 2.5%. NASDAQ's up 2.5%. S&P is up 2.5%. So let's see. It's really interesting. I'll show you a chart later, but this SMH that I told you, I talked about, you could put orders in under the market. It was just an example. I'm not trying to say, shame on you if you didn't do it. But I don't like going back and listening to myself, but I think I said 180, 175, 170, maybe 165. Maybe lower, I probably said too. But I said, just pick your number, put out an order to buy under the market for Monday morning, and maybe it goes off. And I think it got as low as 170 and 11 cents on yesterday morning. That thing's 191 right now, 191.69. Another one that, it's not doing as well today. But another one a friend of mine pointed out was RIG, R-I-G. Transocean used to be a great company. It used to be $50 stock. It's now $2.23. But that was around $2. I don't know how low it got yesterday. I didn't look. But that was up to $2.50 today. DJT is GBUX down 40 cents. Pfizer, some guy came on here telling you to buy Pfizer at $26, $25.95 or something like that. I wrote it down somewhere. And then Finger is 132, down 4 cents. So another way of looking, rather than looking at the price of the stocks, just scroll down and check out the market cap. Finger's market cap is about $80 million. Is that fair? Is it too low? I don't know. Their revenues are basically 35 million a year by memory. They're a little lumpy, so they're not. You can't necessarily totally put your weight on them. So is 2 times revenues a fair number? I don't know. It's certainly, not knowing anything else, it's reasonable. But I think in the case of Finger, because of the upside growth, probably 3 different areas of growth, including the C2 contract, the insurance, the cloud computing, let's call it, and I guess in general, data, big data. You could see that value go up quite a bit. But anyway, that's one stock. Look at this other one, the one that I like right now as a potential squeeze, GBUX. The market cap is 763 million. That's a nice value. Oh, child. I found that material things I thought had so much value. 763. So anyway, that needs to separate from its fundamental story to go much higher, which is what I think could happen with a squeeze. NIXX has a small market cap. I'm just going to look at Transocean's market cap. $2 billion. Interesting. Interesting. Now, you might be wondering, not that it matters what I think, but you might be wondering, what does the market do now? And I would say that was the easy trade. If I had purchased, I don't know, SMH, I'd be out. If I had purchased anything and it's up, I'd be out, because there's still risk. Of course, there's risk. Martin Armstrong puts out his thoughts on the bounce. That's today, April 8th. And his article is called The Bounce. CNN headline, "This is the stock market's worst start to a presidential term in history." And the question that Martin Armstrong is answering, you are too modest. You're the only one who forecast this low to the very day. Reply, and here's a Bloomberg. Wall Street is collateral damage for Trump's trade war. So here's Martin Armstrong's answer. "I warned you that the time was not good and that the computer got this correct again. It takes real experience to understand market behavior. The market drops and the headlines create confusion and panic. This time it was far worse. The hatred of Trump sends the press off into a fever." You know, there's a woman on internet, she's young, her name's Pearl, and I enjoy watching her. She suggests that women shouldn't be able to vote. And I said, I used to make a joke all the time that women should either be allowed to drive or to vote, but not both. And you can imagine how hilarious it was when I would say it. But a lot of this hatred for Trump is female driven. They hate Trump, a certain class of women hate Trump because he was caught on a Hillary Clinton provided tape with Billy Bush saying, grab him by the Well, the full tape, which I don't condone, but it says they let you. When you're a celebrity, they let you grab him by the I don't like it. I don't like it. But he's a tall guy. He's blonde. I don't know if he's handsome or not. He's bloody rich, and the cameras followed him everywhere, and he was a bachelor. I bet they did throw themselves on him. But women hate him for this. No woman hates Joe Biden for sticking his digits inside of Tara Reid when she was 21 or 23 years old. And he had the power, and she was just an intern, a legislative aide. No one, Joe Biden's great. Joe Biden's great. They called Trump a racist, even though Joe Biden wrote the crime bill, for example. Joe Biden said he didn't want his children going to school in the jungle. I don't know, guys. We get all this hatred. That's what it is. It's emotionalism. And it's destroying our country. The hatred of Trump sends the press off into a fever. foaming at the mouth, hoping this will be the silver bullet to kill him once and for all, metaphorically, I'm sure. They exaggerate for all rhetorical points. They care nothing about people. They don't care about the nation or anything other than their personal hatred. They are traitors to their country. If you cannot be objective, being in the media with such personal vindictiveness should be a crime. These are the lowest type of people in humanity. I would sell every share in every media company that spews out this constant hatred. You know who controls the media? BlackRock. You know who owns all the meat processing companies in the United States? I'll let you look it up. As one reader wrote for the private blog, quote, as far as I remember, private blog posts referred to a correction into support into April 7th, unquote. And Martin goes on to say, we gave that date months in advance. The Great Depression was caused by the 1931 sovereign defaults, government defaults, not tariffs. That was the propaganda tariffs of the Democrats back then. This is the press warmongering against Trump. They're not interested in the facts. They're interested in selling their hatred, and they only see red when they look at Trump because he beat their love child, Hillary and Kamala. Womanism. Then he says, this market will still make new highs. This market will still make new highs. What will they say then? The Great Depression was a debt crisis, not a trade war. It was not tariffs that wiped out 9,000 banks back in the early, in the Great Depression. It was the default on debts, the 1931 debt crisis. Let me see, I can barely read this. Yeah, I'm not going to read that. It's some book, some quote from some book. They just hate Trump. They ignore history and facts. True, they will never interview Martin Armstrong because I tell the truth. I tell the truth. The truth. I'm the soca bouncer. Here's what bright minds on Wall Street are saying about Trump. U.S. market loses $4 trillion in value. Trump tariffs. Stock market crashing. Trump tariffs. All right, that's enough of that subject. You looked it up. You looked up who owns all the meat packing factories in the country. Beef, poultry, chicken, Blackstone. I can't stand Trump. Yeah, a lot of people can't stand Trump. I've got to be fair to you. At least roughly half the people can't stand Trump, at least half. So you're right. I mean, I can't not respect your opinion on Trump. My father hated Trump. But I guess what I'm suggesting is if we can get the vitriol out of it and just focus on the problems and solving them, It's hard because There's a lot of money spent on manipulating our emotions, and I think Trump's a much better guy than people give him credit for. But Lordy, his alignment with Netanyahu is going to darken his legacy. It was a wild guess. Oh, well, I'll look it up. Watch, we'll go to who owns USA meat packing plants. The 4 companies that own and operate the majority of U.S. meatpacking plants are Tyson's Food, JBS USA Cargo, and National Beef. So who owns them? Who controls the meat industry? Cargill, Tyson's, JBS, and National Beef. Well, I read that it was one of the blacks, Stone or Rock, that owned them. Oh, I'll have to find the quote for you. The big 4 meat packers are crushing small ranchers. Who owns Cargill Meat Solutions? Who's the majority owner? Descendants of Cargill. Well, I can't find the answer I'm looking for. So maybe I should have printed it out before I got it, said something like that. Who owns the most stock in Cargill? Pauline McMilleth Kanath. Who is the largest privately owned company in the United States? Cargill. America's top private companies. Cargill, number 1. Coke, Public Supermarkets, Mars, HEB, Hebe, Grocery Company, Ray's Holding, Enterprise Mobility, C&S Wholesale Grocers, Fidelity Investments. Not for long. We're going to own Fidelity Investments. Southern Glazers Wine and Spirits. Love Travel Stops. Loves. Brother loves traveling. Salvation Show. Everybody go. The mood. And Sheets is number 30. Edward Jones is 31. Wegmans, 37. Wow, there's a lot of private companies. Anyway, it is BlackRock. That's the answer that I was looking for. My dad used to haul for IPB, Iowa Beef Packers. Not sure if they're still in business, but as a kid. Wow, that's something. That's something. Any update on Finger? Not that that's pretty cool. I bet you have memories of the freezers, Rocky. I've walked through the meat souk in Saudi Arabia. Yeah, I forget which city I was in. I think it was in Riyadh. that was a lot of, they didn't leave much to the imagination of these poor animals hanging and swinging around you. But why did God create it that we have to eat other animals to stay alive? I don't have an update on Finger. I'm sure Ham will today. My view on Finger is that we have to wait to April 15th. It's not too far away, another week. And we'll have the fourth quarter earnings report. If it turns positive, all the better. If it's positive, I don't expect it to be dramatically positive earnings per share, but it could be 1 or 2 or 3 cents. That'd be enormous. But what's going to be more important is learning more about the C2 contract, how big it is, how they spent the $5 million, what are revenues and cash flows and earnings going to be for 2026, the year we're in right now. And that's a week away. So I think I'm positive on that information. I'm hopeful on that information. I think it's going to be a good earnings report. Everything else, I think, will key off of that. I mean, you've got to imagine everything from dividend to research reports to potential investments by large investors to any kind of what I would hope would be a JV arrangement with SAIC, all will key off the earnings report, the audit, everything. So we have to wait a week, at least a week. I don't know where the 15th is. I can tell you the 15th. The 15th is next Tuesday, so a week from now. So I think it's going to be, I think it's going to be a positive experience. I do. Southern Comfort. How would my dad say it? Hello, son. I don't have children. I don't know how to say it. I used to hit the beef like he did in the trailer. They don't waste anything. I know. That's actually something, David, I used to talk about. They don't waste a thing on the cow. They don't waste a thing on the cow. That is a dollar producing, manure producing machine. Hello, Walls. Oh, how's it go? Hello. How am I doing? Well, I guess I'm doing fine. It's so lovely. Any update? Yeah, everything's okay. Everything's okay with me and him. He's been busy flying. He's been sick. He's been very active on, going live on Twitter and working with the Honest. So, but there's no problem between me and him. I don't know that there's any GBUX news. And, the weird thing is, guys, news is just not what matters in stocks. Now, in terms of information, that's material and it's not out there, I'm not going to hear about it. And if I do, I can't talk about it, but I'm not going to hear about it. So GBUX is a very basic story. You know, if you take it on the face of it, GBUX is it's down 30 cents. That's fine. Perfectly normal. So 9 days ago, GiveBucks details $212 million strategic investment to an asset-based investment vehicle. GBUX today announced the intended sale of a 30% equity stake in the company for $212 million. The transaction is designed to be completed through a non-dilutive structure to protect and enhance long-term shareholder value. As part of the transaction, $212 million will be invested into an income-oriented strategy managed by an experienced real estate-focused private credit asset manager. This multi-year commitment is, now see, that's the one weakness to this announcement. This multi-year commitment, it makes it sound like the money's not going in all at once. And computers and shorts will live off of that if there's uncertainty. Why? Because they assume, and the computer doesn't do thinking, it's the evil men. They assume, and this is the weakness of the US markets. If the CEO agrees a deal with an investor, let's make it up, at $7 a share, they're going to get X amount of shares. Well, if the criminals can drive the stock down to $1, that investor is going to say, hey, I don't want to invest anymore at $7. I want to do it at $1. And it'll expand the number of shares out there. And it is self-fulfilling for the criminals. This is what this is the beauty of promoting a woman just because she's a woman. Look, women run things well. Particularly if they're barefoot and tied to the stove. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. As part of the transaction, $212 million will be invested into this, what I just read. This multi-year commitment is designed to produce consistent cash flow in order to provide funding to GBUX so they never the hell ever have to take money from Wall Street again, unless they want to. It's all about getting away from the pimp. It's all about getting away from the pimp. I don't know if you've ever been stuck in your life without enough money with a landlord or a pimp or a boss or any kind of situation you're trapped in. And it seems like there's no alternatives because they just bully you down and take advantage of you. And that's what these few men, they're all men, that's what they do. And they're gleeful about it. They're gleeful about it. Somebody sent me, and he had a different purpose in sending it to me than the glee. The glee. But I couldn't help but notice the glee. This came out. Basher for hire. Poor GTII losers. It looks like all your money will remain lost in the scam GTII. They're the scam. Of course, then it turns out that Reichman, do you see his last name? Reichman, Kramer, Nadich? I'm not picking on an entire religion. I'm just saying when you see a pattern, you're a fool not to notice the pattern. Looks like John Forrester is now thinking the deal won't happen because of Paul Strickland, the receiver. Enjoy watching your money crash to 1 penny this week and watch your other stock crash too. This is glee. This is just glee. This is evil. And the way they are able to do it, Adina Friedman couldn't care less. Robert Cook couldn't care less. Chuck Cromwell couldn't care less. Gary Gensler couldn't care less. So anyway, let's go back to GBUX. As part of the transaction, they go into this income, provide funding. Majority shareholder of GiveBucks has agreed to retire a portion of their shares to minimize dilution to shareholders. So it doesn't specifically say that the entire 30% is going to come from this shareholder, but it looks that way. Umesh Tim Singh, president, this investment would mark a significant milestone, blah, 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 blah. You know what GiveBucks does? It revolutionizes shopping. The GiveBucks super app revolutionizes shopping. The tool is user-friendly. You can make purchases swiftly and efficiently at over 100 national retailers and local merchants. You get cash back. And a portion of the cash back can be directed toward a charity. GiveBucks is committed to giving back. It's on the Apple Store and Google Play. I'll go download it. GiveBucks is forging a new path in e-commerce and charitable giving, and GiveBucks aspires to build the largest community of givers. I can't help but make fun of PR pieces. They're just all the same. But I think GiveBucks looks good. And the key, Jack, is this was announced March 29th. 2 areas of clarity that I'd like to see. They're going to sell 30% equity stake. Is the private investor giving up that equivalent number of shares, or is there a little bit of dilution? I don't think it matters necessarily one way or the other, because 212 million, if you assume, I don't know, what is a real estate income oriented strategy pay off? Let's say 10%. I don't know. Let's say it pays off let's say it pays off 10% annualized. That's $20 million a year. Call it 24. It's $2 million a month. Call it $1.5 million a month that they're going to have to cover overhead, to tell Wall Street they can go pound sand, and they can pursue their strategy. So, one clarity that I think they need to announce soon is the finalization of this transaction. 2 questions to me need to be answered, which I don't think it's a big deal, whether the investor gives up an amount equal to 30% or it's 20%. It's a good step. Second thing is the 212 million in already? Or is it going to be in all at once? Because the way this is written, it implies it's designed over many years. If the answer to that is the money is in, deal signed, sealed, delivered, screw what the stock price does, I think it goes much higher. My understanding is there's ASCM, the market maker, is trapped in this. I don't quite know how it works because market makers just flows the trade through. But my understanding is they're in trouble over this trade, and I'm sure the prime broker is. So, Jack, I don't think it has anything to do with news. It has to do when the whip comes down and the people who were short the stock have to bring in more money, and they say, well, I'm talking to my biggest client and they're going to send the money. They're overnighting it. Well, why aren't they wiring it? Well, they're traveling. They're on a cruise. They can't get to telex machines, so they're having their why can't they have their assistant wire it? Well, it needs their they can't lie enough, so the buy-in will occur. Lion of all trades called the decline in SPY. You have to admit that. Well, I happen to agree with this is a risk out there. There's going to be hedge funds who over leveraged, and they just all are idiots. They dress well, they wear red socks, they have a little pinky finger, they were in the same skull and bones fraternity with each other, and they all took a hit at Mindy. But they're not particularly bright. At least they're not willing to show their brightness. They just all want to be together. But they leverage. They come up with an idea. I mean, the most current example of that is the leasing of gold. They buy gold, or the bank buys gold, these 26 guys that run it, or they just borrow the gold. They locate the gold, they lease it out, they rehypothecate, they get a little bit of income, and they put that in whatever investment, but they do it in a leveraged way. Perhaps they put it in T-bills or bonds, treasury, a year bond or a 4-year, 10-year. I don't know the exact thinking, but they take a dead asset, leverage it massively, and bring in income. And they're geniuses. And it works until it doesn't. And then they're too big to fail, and we bail them out. And I believe that's going to happen this time. I think there's going to be bailouts of hedge funds. But I agree with Lion of all trades. There's somebody out there that lost their ass. We don't know what the name is yet, but we will find it out. My guess is it's going to be in Asia somewhere, not in the United States. I don't know, a property developer, or a Chinese bank, or something. See, Lion still thinks there's more crash coming, I think, by reading that. I'm not positive on that. I think we've seen the lows. I'm not saying, we had a heart attack, and there's no patient who has a heart attack that gets out of bed and runs a marathon. But I do think we've seen the lows in the market for the time being. I could be wrong, obviously. I mean, if there's a long-term capital management out there. There'll be panic in the market. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think the Fed will buy everything. And I think there will be agreements on some of the tariffs, not that it matters. In China, I do think there's a risks of debt defaults, which is deflationary. But I think China, I'm not totally clear on it, but I think China, in effect, has a domestic yuan and a international yuan. I'm not sure that's 100% truthful, but I think that's how it plays out. So I think they can print a lot of money domestically. And I think we will too. I think this is correct too. Margin calls do not show the way they used to. More importantly, I don't think anyone enforces the margin calls anymore. It's weird, the dynamic since Obama split the banks into FDIC banks, Goldman Sachs is FDIC insured, and into the Goldman Sachs prime broker and stock loan. There's no, the trading and the clients, the risk arb desks went out and became hedge funds. And those hedge funds become the biggest source of income generation for the stock loan department and for the prime broker that is called Goldman Sachs. So the motive of Goldman Sachs is no longer to comply with compliance. It's to make sure that their client doesn't die. They want that income. And I think their buy-ins are, I think buy-ins are rare. New tariffs went into effect at noon today. Well, I've heard people, other smart people, call it the same way I do. I just see it as a tax, and it's a value-added tax. Once you get over it, once you adjust your thinking. For example, TVs are going to be more expensive. Shirts are going to be more expensive. Yeah, it's just how it's going to be. Paul Atkins on the calendar. I don't think Paul Atkins is going to be the great. I was going to say white hope, but I don't know that if he's even white or not. Anyway, I was just, how your brain remembers expressions. But Paul Atkins is not going to be the hope that we want, I don't think. China has been a big buyer of American farm produce and meat. Yeah, now I know where I saw that article. I know where I saw that article. See, the Democrats cheated in this vote, this election. 10 House Republicans plan to vote no on Trump's spending bill. 10. Well, there were House seats in California in particular that Republicans won, and then the cheating began. I can't find this. Can't find this article. Okay, here it is. Let me see who wrote it. It's on X. A guy named Sandy Shoes says EU bans US beef. These restrictions are because of concerns over the use of hormones and other substances in our beef. And then the Washington Times the EU bars hormone-treated meat from the United States. Australia rejects US beef. And it implies that the medicine is being put in our beef. And he goes on, this guy Noah says, the truth is BlackRock owns all the meat packers in America. Well, I guess they own a large portion of them. RFK, let me see what he says.
Owns all the meat packers. There's only 4 main meat packers in this country. BlackRock owns them all. And you can say to them, you owns all the meat packers. There's only 4 main meat packers in this country. BlackRock owns them all. And you can say to them, you need to do antitrust suits against those meat packers. The meat packers are keeping the price of meat high, and the price of cow is low. So the farmer gets hurt, the consumers get hurt, and they make the money because they've got a monopoly. There are many other things like, BlackRock owns all the pharmaceutical companies, and we can start regulating the pharmaceutical companies so that they behave less like a cartel.
Bobby. There are no solid plays out there, at least for average retail. Yeah, I agree with that. I'm tired of the short squeeze stocks. I don't think they work. It happens. Short squeezes happen, but I think that's. God, Jack, you're so annoying, Jack. Let me apologize for Logic. Logic is worthless. I showed the other day, and I don't have it up right now, but Logic expanded its shares from 90 million to 750 million. Instead of reversing 7 or 8 companies into Logic, they allowed one. It's called Med Labs. Med Labs was created at the same time the SPAC was created for Data Logic with Aubrey Advisors. I think it's a complete sting operation, and I think Brent Sun was fooled. I think he's an honest, hardworking guy, but at the end of the day, when he comes to sell his hard work, he gives it away for free. I think there's something wrong. Logic, Jack, you're very close to me banning you. I know you watch every day, but I talked about Logic. Logic is my largest share position. I think it's worthless. You see where Trump said they are on course to. Wow. Wow. Then the states will raise it, right? That's huge, JR. That's huge. I didn't see that. So anyway, McDermott, I'm going to show everybody. Oh, shoot. I didn't download it. All right. So I'm probably going to lose some of the questions. But let me see if I can find it. Let me see if I have that logic. No, I already took them away. Let me see if I have it here. Yeah, I can show it here, I think. 1, 2, 3, just for Jack Wolf, because he wants you to, Jack Wolf wants you to know that my recommendations don't always work out. He wants you to have doubt in me, which is fine. You should have doubt in me. I have doubt in me. All right. Let's go back to Jack. Let's go back to Jack the Jerk. Are you still following? Are you still watching Logic? He doesn't say much, so he comes across as smart. All right, let's go with it. Here's Med Labs. They have 10 followers on LinkedIn. They were MedLab Essentials is the company that Brent's son decided to sell Logic to. They have 10 followers on LinkedIn. It's not a serious company. I'm going to take that down. This is the COO or CEO of MedLabs, Daniel Vinocure. You will see that if I remove Jack Wolf, I can't do it. I can't do it. Well, anyway, it's yeah, I can't do it. All right. It shows under where it says Jack Wolf still watching LGIQ like a jerk that he is. It shows that he's been Okay, so I don't know what happened. I'm sorry about that. So Daniel Vinicure activity, he's the CEO of MedLab. And well, anyway, I'm going to take that down. And then he's been the managing partner of MedLab since February 2022. Well, that's when the data logic, the logic / data logic SPAC was sponsored first by Aubrey Advisors. It's a setup. This guy speaks Russian, English, Spanish, Ukrainian, German, and Hebrew. Here, this is when the data logic DLQ completed the acquisition of Aubrey Partners SPAC 1. That was July of 2022. So, Jack, I believe that, and I love that you get us off track, get me off track on a completely useless subject. And he's gone now. Good, he's gone. Great. Glad Jack's gone. He's gone. And so's a bunch of those. We'll move on. Any update on Finger? I love this, JR. I love this. If we get rid of capital gains, that's huge. It'll be bad for Puerto Rican real estate values. I don't know why he's lost his mind. I don't know, Chris. I don't know why you think that. China charges us tariffs. We've given our technology to China, our education to China. We've given our stealth technology. When they, under George W. Bush, they took one of our stealth jets and reverse engineered it. We've given them our money. We've given them protected status in the World Trade Organization. We've given them everything. And we've lost jobs here. And you think he's lost his mind? I don't know. I don't know. We just see things. As I saw someone describe it, you and I live in different universes, and I respect your opinion. I respect your opinion, but I think it will end up in the portfolio, and I'd like to get Greg McCabe. I'd like to interview Greg McCabe. Who pays the most in capital gains, the poor or the middle class or the top 1%? So who benefits? Obviously, the banksters will benefit, the hedge funds will benefit, and stockbrokers will benefit, money managers will benefit, obviously. One could argue that 401ks and IRAs will benefit. But if you break down society into the haves and have-nots, who benefits from inflation? Who benefits from massive money printing? I think your arguments are well based in some statistics, but I think the argument is designed to get us to do nothing, and I think the status quo is unacceptable. If you're here, Michael, to trade, not having taxable capital gains is going to help you. I would argue, as Charlie Merrill did 100 years ago, that there's a place even for small investors in the United States. Unfortunately, a handful of guys have concentrated wealth. And, that's where we are. But you're right. I mean, your argument is we should continue the way we are. They don't pay capital gains anyway, Michael. Most of them live offshore. Most of them hide it in trusts and elsewhere. And then on the hedge funds, 60% of their high frequency trading, of their short-term trading, 60% is taxed at long-term capital gains rates. And then they set up their own pay in these sort of, I guess they call it profit sharing agreements, so that when they get paid, it's done at long-term capital gains rates rather than paying income tax on their income. So you just want to leave it all the same way. I think Trump's right. Get rid of the capital gains. Get rid of, he even wants to get rid of the income tax. But we'll see. I think your point is well taken, though. I'm just reacting to it. You are correct in your point. Phil, Ham is on Ham 59591 shorts on Twitter. He's done calls every single day. He will be on a call with Giannis. Giannis has a YouTube channel, and you can hear what he says there. He's always welcome here, but I miss Lucky. I just miss Lucky. I just miss Lucky. You don't offend. Look, I am what I am. I am what I am. I get. I'm not the smoothest guy in the world. I went to get my cup of coffee at the local corner store, and I was looking at the meat they sell in the refrigerator, all this processed meat, and I'm sure I've eaten it in my life, but it's not real food. It's not real food. And we were talking about the Oro Grande. I think he can get the Oro. There's two things going on with NextBridge right now. The criminals want to drive it out of business. On the other hand, you've got Greg McCabe, I think, trying to do the right thing. Greg McCabe is also trying to diversify into southern Louisiana, but they're attacking him there. They're trying to raise money through Roth Capital. My friend runs the oil and gas investment banking department at Roth Capital out of California. I asked him when I last saw him about the shorting and all that, but I think I mean, it's the devil, you know, right? But they're trying to raise money, and look, it's a shitty situation. But I think Greg McCabe is the guy to be in charge of it. He's got a lot of his own money on the line, and I think we'll be okay. Maybe, maybe. What's happened with Germany? Open air pharmacist at this point? Are there a lot of drugs? Have I thought about adopting a new pup? Yeah, I think about it all the time, but I need to get my, I want to own a house again before, and then if I don't have a wife or a girlfriend, I at least want to have a, maybe a maid or somebody to take care of it. Yeah, ham is good. Ham's great. We'll see. Lion of all trades can be right. He thinks the crash is intense. I think you've seen it. I think you've seen the correction. The next move will be up, but I mean, it won't happen overnight. So I wanted to, one of you, I think the message has already been deleted. One of you said, there's nothing to buy. Somebody said there's no, here it is. There are no solid trades out there. It's 1 o'clock. I might close at 1:30 because I don't want to waste your time. And that'll, yeah, that maybe another 20 minutes. But I want to show you the one thing I think you can, you should, all of us need to start looking at, particularly now that silver is cheap again. It's uploading. Of course, it's taking forever. Okay. I think that now let me take your comment down. This is a monster box of silver. My opinion, the best place to do it is gold, silver, but you can do it at, there's dozens of places you can buy these monster boxes. It's 500 ounces sealed, and it costs you 17 grand, probably 18 grand. 500 ounces of silver, if you can stop thinking of trading all the time and you can just set it aside, that might make sure that your financial future, just one box, might be enough to make sure that your financial future is secure in 5-6 years. So that, I think, is what our goal has to be, is getting some of that. Let me see, I had other things I wanted to show you, but let me see if I don't remember what they were. Oh, the stock charts. Lion of all trades has a different view than I do, which is what makes markets. But I told you last week that I thought, for example, I don't know which chart is which, so I'll just start on the bottom, that you could put orders in under the market. All right, this is SMH. And I said, put orders in under the market. I can't quite read that, but you can see that the stock went down to $1.70 yesterday. I don't think you could have bought it at $1.70, but maybe $1.75. And we've bounced right back up. Now, what I would agree, if this is, I don't want to speak for Line of All Trades, but if he's saying this chart doesn't look pretty, he's right. He's right about that. But it snapped right back up. And my guess is, maybe it does a little bouncing here, but I think we'll get back up in that green, blue, red line range soon enough. And then this is gold. This is Barrick Gold. Look at the buying opportunity in Barrick Gold. This is incredible to me. This is one of the best, the largest miners in the world. And you can buy it for under $20 a share. That's Barrick Gold. This is RIG. This is the one that a friend of mine pointed out to me. It was under $2, and then it bounced to $2.50. Right now, it's not doing as well. So that's a trade, though. That's all I was saying. It's a trade. You can buy when the panic's in. When it bounces back, get out. It's a nice little trade. That chart isn't the most positive, but we'll keep an eye out for RIG and Schlumberger and all the oil service companies. This is Newmont Mining. Newmont Mining, another great mining company to own. The chart's not beautiful, but it's not bad. We're off the highs in the stock, and this is the volatility. And I think it's a great buying opportunity in Newmont. NEM. And then there's, this is the Sprott Physical Silver Trust. Look at how they killed it. That is a good looking chart. And then it gets killed. But I think that's the volatility of silver. And I think it will rally back up there and break out. So that's PSLV. Oh, God. I just talked about logic. My opinion is that Brent's son got hoodwinked by the CEO at Med Labs. I have heard through sources that Brent has a lot of confidence in Med Labs and that the stock is going to have a series of acquisitions and you're going to see it grow. If that's true, I think logic can go to 5 cents, 10 cents, 15 cents, 20 cents. But I think I just can't fool myself. I think Aubrey Advisors, Chadron, both set up a situation that played out over 3 years where they valued a collective audience, which it's now known, at $11 a share. They engineered so there would be a 2-day period where collective audience didn't qualify for NASDAQ. They called in, the stock was halted trading, and it opened at like $48, but then it's a penny now. And Logic, they did the same thing. They shorted that. There are no systems in place There are men that used to work at the American Stock Exchange who insist there are systems in place. There aren't any. And, or if they are, they're not implemented. They're not turned on. And I think Aubrey Advisors, their client Polar, took probably $150, $200 million out of the market in collective audience and Logic. And I believe Logic is completely toast. I think the next thing you're going to see with Logic is a 1 for 100 reverse split, if not a 1 for 200, completely cramming us down. I think it's the biggest disaster that I personally have supported in a long, long time. There, I've said it again. I have talked about it, Relic, over and over again. McDermott, my opinion is if you have money right now, I don't know what, nobody out there tells me either. I don't know what options trade for the indexes. If there's an option on the Russell index, go buy calls on the Russell index out 9 months. Go buy calls on the Dow index out 9 months. Go buy calls on the NASDAQ index out 9 months. Go buy calls on the S&P index out 9 months. Go bullish while everyone else is negative. Go buy some calls while there's no premium. And I think you're going to see that the next move in the stock market will be very rewarding if you can afford to do that. It's speculative as hell. So only do it with money that you can afford to lose or part with. I simply do not know what option index. I used to trade the XMI. It doesn't trade anymore. And then the other one I think was the OX. Oh God, what was it? I can't find them anymore. So in lieu of that, the other day I told you guys about SMH. You can buy calls on these ETFs, on almost any of these ETFs. Go out. They bounced already. But there isn't going to be a crash right now, I don't think. Obviously, that's a prediction, not a promise. But I don't see the follow through. And there's big money out there. There are some questions about liquidity. I think there's plenty of liquidity. And if there isn't, we'll provide it. There's room on the Fed's balance sheet to rescue all of the banks, all of the hedge funds. They own the Congress. They own the Treasury. They own everything. I think we'll see another attempt to rescue this just by printing money. Yeah, I know. I get a little upset about it because Logic, I know a lot of people believed the story based on what I was saying. I believe the story based on this guy from the Amex, based on talking to Brent, based on meeting Brent. But this is morphed from a company that was meant to be 90 million shares, growing to $1 billion valuation or more across 6 or 7 companies, to being hoodwinked by one company that is completely a sham, in my opinion. It's got a crappy website. And it's just the coup de grace to the steel. Do you understand what happened with Logic? They took it from 100 million shares to 750 million shares. They drove the price down from $1.20 down to a penny, and now it doesn't even trade. And they're going to do reverse splits. So 99% of the money they made by selling stock that doesn't exist because there are no systems in place. None. They're going to take 99% of their money out of the market without paying taxes. And this guy up here is worried about fairness in capital gains. They're going to take, between collective audience and Logic, I think $150 million they're taking out of the market without paying taxes on it. And no one cares. No one cares. You got to wonder why. Why? I'm sure I can try to get an interview with the CEO of GBUX, but why would that matter right now? My opinion of GBUX, and I want to be very clear of this, as a long-term hold, I'm not all that excited about it. They're going to have $200 million in an income-producing, looks like a real estate fund, according to what I just read. If they make 12% a year on that in income, that's $24 million a year, $2 million a month. Once the company adjusts to that value, where does it go from there? I don't know. I don't know what real estate's multiple is now, but if it's six, the cap rate is 6. That stock should be worth around 400 million if they make 24 million a month. So I'm not excited about GBUX in terms of long-term hold. What I'm excited about GBUX is I think there's shorts trapped, and you could see a short squeeze here near term. But to me, it's not if you're invested in GBUX as a long-term, I'm going to be in it, I'm buying it, I'm going to hold it, I think that's a mistake. I think at best, the company's worth what it's trading for now, at best. I think it's overpriced. If you're just looking at what's been announced so far, and I get your point, if the CEO has broader plans, it would help to have an interview. But in the short run, DB, there's no CEO that's going to have an interview while news. I mean, I'm assuming it should be pending. They have material information they have to get to. So yeah, I'll try it, but it won't happen before it if it runs. An interview won't happen before then. What does it mean, days to cover? Not much. Days to cover doesn't mean much. In a normal market, if there's a real short position of 100 million shares, 100,000 shares, 100,000 shares short, and a stock trades 10,000 shares a day, you would say the days to cover are 10 days. But it's kind of not a realistic calculation, because you've got to, if it trades 10,000 shares already, and you also have to buy back the shares, you're going to change all the dynamics. But ceteris paribus, what it means is there's 100,000 shares short, volume is 10,000 a day, takes 10 days to cover. So it's a really inexact calculation, particularly if the real short is dwarfed by a fake short. But it gives you something to think about. In the case of GBUX, it trades trades by appointment prior to this. If they have 2.4 million shares short, which is what the rumor is, how are they going to cover if there's 24,000 shares traded a day? It's going to take them a year or longer to cover. So that's the point of it. It's the magnitude. You're trying to figure out what happens if they have to buy the stock. Would you try and sell Logic? No. I wouldn't try to. I wouldn't try to sell it. I wouldn't buy it either. I don't trust this Volgenberg. I don't trust Aubrey. I don't trust Chadron. I don't trust Polar. But I'm willing to wait and see what the news announcements are for Logic. I'm willing to wait and see if, in fact, I'm wrong on this Vinicure. I don't think I am. And if he has more companies to roll into Med Labs, well, then maybe it does get to 10 or 15 cents a share. But they're going to issue more stocks. You're already at 750 million. They're at least going to take it to 1.5 billion. They're going to do the mother of all reverse splits. Brent Sun is completely incompetent when it comes to closing out the deals he works so hard on. I like the guy. I think he's honest. I think he works for the shareholders. I think he works damn hard. But this was an idiot trade. Absolute idiocy. But by the way, I don't think it was Brent's fault that Aubrey Advisors came on. I don't believe that. I think it was somebody else. And Chadron, Polar, I don't think it was his. And I think he fought hard against the groupthink. I think he showed courage in fighting back. So, like all things, people are complicated. I think he showed courage. I think he suffered the slings and arrows because he did. So I don't blame him, but I do blame him for getting snowed by MedLab. I think it's just ridiculous. I think if he needed more money to keep his filings current, he could come to me and I could have talked about it live and we could have raised the $100,000 that he needed. Instead, he goes to this Shylock Vinicure. Oh, Shylock is a word that's come into our language to mean somebody that takes a pound of flesh, but it also, I just realized, has a connotation. I don't mean the extra connotation word. I'm sorry about that. All right, I'm going to sign off because I don't have much else to say. Yeah, I wouldn't sell Logic. I wouldn't sell Logic. It's too late. All we can do is wait and see what happens, my opinion. And we could be surprised. I'm hearing that there's positive things coming. I just personally don't believe it. GBUX is 860. Finger is 128.5. And let's look at Logic. I don't even think it has a bid and ask. It's in what's called seller boxed. Yeah, it's 0, 0, 0, 0. there's no way to look at that with any positives. And so it's easy to borrow. It's just, I don't know why CEOs don't see it, what the crap they're stepping into, but they don't. And they shouldn't have to, by the way. If you had people running the exchanges who cared about shareholders and CEOs, this wouldn't happen. If you had regulators that cared, this wouldn't happen. If you had Congress that cared, this wouldn't happen. But everything is rigged so that a handful of men can steal. That's all it is. Anyway, I'm going to sign off and wish everybody a happy day.